So
when I was a kid, it was Legion of Doom.
Yep.
That was my tag team. I don't know if you know who they were.
Oh, of course.
Ultimate Warrior. Obviously, he was phenomenal. Hulk Hogan, I guess. But it was really Ultimate Warrior and Legion of Doom were my favorite. But I do not like watching women wrestle at all.
Me neither.
I resent it.
I'm not a fan.
I liked it, you know. Big Boss Man. I don't know. Do they still have those real over-the-top characters?
Not anymore. No, it's a lot more sports based now.
I don't like that.
Because I think it was like a reflection of the time. Like in the 80s, it was like the era of like kind of like the campy action hero movies. Like you had a Sylvester Stallone and Schwarzenegger, and that was like the culture. That was the big explosions, the over the top, the
guys
gimmicks
with snakes and all the that's what I love.
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Don't you wish that was back a little bit, or no? Because you're a different generation, and it wouldn't land.
I don't think it would land because wrestling is so interesting. Pro wrestling is so interesting because it's an art form. A lot of people don't realize it's actually an art form. Like it's art. Like when you see professional wrestling done well, like exceptionally well. It's like it's like watching a movie, but it's like poetry in motion. Like it's artistic, it's storytelling, it's drama, it's theater.
Yeah,
it's good versus evil. It's like Shakespearean, and
wow.
You're
gonna have to give me one wrestling match to watch.
I could
try to change my mind.
I don't know. I could give you.
I'm not against it. I just don't think it could hold my attention.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody.
Which is not its fault.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. But if you,
I've never heard that summary though. What you just said there about the reflection of the 80s and the movies at the time.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's why I don't see today the same kind of gimmicks, which I thought was kind of fun at least.
Yeah, and when you look back at it in like nostalgia, you're like, I love that stuff because it's nostalgic.
But if it happened today, it might.
And then if it happened today, it wouldn't land. And we got to remember, it's still a business, so they have to do things that are popular, at a popular level that the masses are going to flock to. Right now is a very interesting time because right now, the wrestling business is probably hotter than it's probably ever been, maybe, like in its history, and it's 130-year history, whatever it is. It's like on fire right now. They're making, WWE is making like a crazy amount of money.
Who?
WWE, the company, they're making crazy profits.
How do you think, with the rise of UFC over the last however long, how has that, do you think, if you had to guess, influenced wrestling?
I think that there has been an influence.
And how people watch it, what they want from it.
Yeah, because like I said, now it's more sports-based. Well, at the same time, you can still see it and see, oh, this is theater, this is Shakespeare, but it's sports-based. So you're not going to see the Big Boss Man. You're not going to see
Jake the Snake Roberts.
You're not going to see Jake the Snake Roberts with the. Although I think that gimmick could work today because coming out with the snake, like that's just like that's cool, and that's like what is it? Mind games, intimidation. But being that it's more sports based, because like professional wrestling as a business, it has to evolve and it has to adapt to what the culture is and what it wants and what the culture is looking for. So it is more sports based, I think, because of the influence of UFC. But it's like just recently there was a big Shakespeare, where probably one of the best good guys ever in the history of the pro wrestling business became a bad guy.
Hang on, what do you mean the big Shakespeare? What does that mean?
Shakespeare is like
I know
like
who he is,
the drama.
Oh, okay. So
like
there's a lot of drama.
Wrestling, the storyline of it, the story.
And so a good guy,
John Cena, who was one of the greatest. They call him a baby face. He's a good guy. He's a hero. He was Superman. By the way, I saw your Superman figure that you have in the bathroom. That's cool.
Thank you.
So Superman just became a bad guy after being a good guy.
And how did they set that up to make you believe it and hate him?
Okay,
let's do it.
So
Educate me.
John Cena was a good guy. I'm talking like what Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior were to you, just like that, and maybe even more so for like my generation, because he was a good guy a lot longer than Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was a good guy from 84 to 96. John Cena was a good guy from 2004 to literally like last week. and he was the top good guy. He was the biggest star that they've had, since
All
the
right,
90s.
forgive me. I've got a lot of questions that I need to interject as we go along, so I can understand this. So I understand how they made Hulk Hogan a hero because he was pro-America against the communists or whatever. But and those in the Middle East, he would fight that Sergeant Slaughter.
Slaughter, yeah.
How did they make John Cena a good guy without all those gimmicks, and then explain how just recently they were able to convince everybody that they hate him?
So John Cena is his character really from like 2005 until just recently. He was the guy that would always hold on to his morals. He was the moral person. He was all about the children. He was about being a good role model. He was about all the classic morals of a good guy. Integrity, loyalty, respect, hard work, honor. Giving it your best try, and even if his motto was never give up. And there was a whole generation of kids that like they took that to heart, and he always said, never give up, work hard, try your best, don't give in to the evil of the world, and it was like visceral, like we believed him, because we all know that pro wrestling is a show, we know that it's a show, but the people within that show, like you believe that they're for real, like Brock Lesnar is one of the biggest professional wrestlers of all time, but he was also a former UFC World Heavyweight Champion, so. You can go to a wrestling show and you can say, I know that this is all the show, but Brock Lesnar, he's for real. It's like that with John Cena. Like that's who he really is in real life, in person. And so a whole generation of kids, myself included, grew up with that. A hero, a pop culture icon. And the thing is that over the last 20 years, more than 20 years now, 22 years, whatever it was, whatever his run was, he's had so many opportunities to become the bad guy. And part of his story is that it's so easy to become the bad guy because it feels so good. And sometimes you have the right to become the bad guy, but don't. You have to stay the good guy because you want to be good. You don't want to be the bad guy.
Okay.
And that's been his story for over 20 years because they wanted him to be the bad guy.
If you're anything like me, you sometimes reach the end of summer feeling a little spiritually drained and in need of rest. That's why I'm excited to tell you about St. Michael's Lent with Exodus 90. Rooted in an ancient tradition practiced by St. Francis of Assisi, this 40-day journey was born out of his deep devotion to St. Michael the Archangel. So, men, join us on August 15th for St. Michael's Lent and get ready to fight the good fight. That's Exodus90.com/Matt.
There are times when the fans, they want you to be the bad guy. They want you to fight dirty.
But presumably WWE is not yet ready to make the switch because clearly they're the ones writing the script here.
They're the ones that tell the story.
All right.
But the story is also based on the reaction of the audience. So when the audience reacts in a way, they kind of plan accordingly.
Yep.
So that's the beauty of the art form, is that it's interactive.
Okay.
And if the audience rejects something, then they'll have to switch on the fly. Or if the audience accepts it, they'll write it as long as they can, right? It's very interactive in that sense, so it's like the audience, the crowd, they're the ones that can kind of dictate how they want the story to go. When you go to the movie, it doesn't matter how loud you cheer or scream or chant or whatever, like the movie is the movie, it's done.
Or a play.
Yeah. But with the theater that is professional wrestling, the audience actually is able to influence what happens. And for a long time, the audience the adults in the audience wanted John Cena to be the bad guy, but the kids loved him, and they were his hero. And John Cena was always about the children. He never always about the children and being the upright, the moral person, and always be good, and loyalty, respect, honor, virtue, all those things. And he was able to withstand all of those calls for him.
Bring this right.
Yeah.
Feel free to move it around. Yeah.
He was able to withstand all of these calls for him to be the bad guy, and it was incorporated into his story. And he never became the bad guy up until like about 2 weeks ago.
All right,
when
happened?
He finally became the bad guy. So John Cena, he's in his final year. He's about to retire. And right now, the top good guy is a guy named Cody Rhodes, and he's the world champion. And he's like the John Cena of today. He's beloved he might even be bigger than Cena right now at this day and time.
Cody Rhodes.
All
right.
Rhodes. And they call him he's like the classic American hard work, and just like John Cena was. And he's beloved just like John Cena was, for over 20 years. And John Cena turned on him. They're going to have a match at the biggest pro wrestling show that happens every year. That's him. Cody Rhodes, and they're going to have a match. They're going to main event WrestleMania, which is the biggest show of the year, And all your audience is probably like, man, I didn't know Voice of Reason was such a nerd, but I'm a huge nerd.
This is great.
And they're going to main event, in front of 80,000 people, whatever it is. And they thought it was going to be good guy versus good guy. Cody Rhodes, today's John Cena versus, the John Cena of this
and so
last
people
generation.
Couldn't tell who they were going to root for.
They couldn't tell, so John Cena said, I'm going to tell you who to root for. And he turned on him. And there's actually a video of it. John Cena and The Rock. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, was like the biggest star in Hollywood because he came from pro wrestling and he's back in pro wrestling and he's
I didn't know he was back in it.
He's a character on TV. I think the most watched social media moment of WWE was John Cena turning to a bad guy and turning on Cody Rhodes and aligning with The Rock.
Can you tell me how this happened?
So what happened was John Cena won a match to earn the right to to wrestle Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania for the belt for the World Heavyweight Championship. Cody Rhodes came out after John Cena won his match to congratulate him, and they hugged in the ring. There's a big hug in the ring, and they was like, yo, good, our two favorite guys, they're going to get to have a great, classic good guy versus good guy match. And then The Rock came out because The Rock was involved in a story with Cody Rhodes where The Rock is the bad guy, and he's trying to get Cody Rhodes to become the bad guy, right? So it was kind of like what John Cena was going through back in 2012, 2013, where The Rock is trying to get Cody Rhodes to be the bad guy. And Cody Rhodes says, no, I'm not going to be the bad guy, right? The Rock was trying to get Cody Rhodes to align with him. And he said, no, I am not going to follow you. I'm going to have a match with my hero, John Cena. And we're going to tear the house down at WrestleMania, and we're going to do it honorably. And then John Cena turns on him.
In the ring, right?
In the ring, he turned on him. They hugged. They had a big hug. Yeah. And then John Cena, some of the best acting he's ever done in his life, where his face just drops and he's looking at The Rock. And The Rock is in the ring watching them hug. And they're hugging, and John Cena looks at The Rock and gives him the wink, and the evil face just comes out, and The Rock goes like this, and he does the throat slit. So John Cena lets Cody go, and he kicks him in the nuts, just low blows him, just kicks him, and then John Cena, The Rock, and Travis Scott, who was also in the ring, they just you can watch a video of it. They just
we will.
They pummeled him, make him bleed. For real, he was bleeding for real. They hit him they were hitting him for real. They were whipping him with a weight belt. It was classic Shakespeare. Beautiful storytelling, the drama, the way that the crowd was reacting. Little kids in the crowd crying.
Oh my god.
Crying because their hero just turned on their other hero. Even grown men that were shocked. Grown men that grew up with Cena that were shocked. So it was amazing storytelling. Beautiful storytelling, and everyone played their part so well. John Cena's excellent, Cody Rhodes is excellent, The Rock is The Rock, he's excellent. The way that they shot it, the camera work, The Rock, doing the throat slit, Cena's face while he was hugging Cody and kicking him, and then blooding him up, and it was beautiful. It was Shakespeare.
Wow. Okay. I got a Shakespeare professor who would take issue with that, but we'll accept it.
I watched that episode, by the way. Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Aaron Verban's something Polish.
Right.
G'day guys, I hope you enjoyed that clip with Alex from Voice of Reason. Do me a favor before you go, you already know what I'm going to say. Click like, click subscribe. Thanks so much.